Emily stood alone in the kitchen, the soft glow of the overhead light casting warm shadows on the countertops, and for a moment she let herself breathe, enjoying the quiet, but the silence soon felt heavier than comforting, filling her mind with thoughts she had been avoiding all week. She chopped vegetables slowly, her movements deliberate but distracted, her mind replaying memories that made her heart ache, wondering why she always felt the weight of loneliness even in familiar spaces. Just as she stirred the pot of simmering sauce, the front door opened, and Ethan's cheerful voice called out, breaking the stillness, "Em? You cooking alone again? That's dangerous," and the sound of his laughter made her chest lift slightly, a small smile creeping onto her face despite the sadness she had been carrying. He stepped into the kitchen, leaning casually against the counter, eyes scanning her as if reading her thoughts, and Emily felt a strange mixture of comfort and nervousness, knowing that he saw more than she intended to show. Ethan's voice softened as he added, "You know, you don't have to be strong all the time," and the words hit her in a way she hadn't expected, stirring emotions she had tried to push down, making her feel both exposed and strangely relieved. She froze for a second, the spoon trembling in her hand, unsure how to respond, and the room felt smaller, more intimate, filled with the tension of unsaid feelings and gentle concern. Emily wanted to brush it off, to keep the mood light, but the look in Ethan's eyes, the warmth in his voice, reminded her that she wasn't alone, that someone cared enough to notice the heaviness she carried inside. The simple act of cooking, which had been her attempt to distract herself from heartbreak and longing, now became a backdrop for connection, and she realized how much she had missed having someone who could see her without judgment. Ethan made a small joke about her mysterious cooking skills, causing her to laugh softly, the sound mingling with the gentle sizzle from the stove, and for a moment, the sadness receded, replaced by warmth and a quiet sense of being understood. Yet beneath the laughter, Emily felt the lingering ache of loneliness, the subtle pull of memories she couldn't quite shake, and she found herself stirring the sauce more out of habit than attention, her mind spinning with thoughts of what-ifs and could-have-beens. Ethan, sensing both her humor and her hidden sadness, leaned closer slightly, speaking with a voice that balanced playfulness and sincerity, and Emily realized that sometimes, words could reach places where silence and tears could not. The kitchen, once a simple space of routine, now felt like a safe haven where emotions could be acknowledged, where laughter and vulnerability could coexist, and Emily felt a subtle shift inside her, the first hint that perhaps she didn't have to face everything alone. She glanced at her brother, seeing the mixture of curiosity, mischief, and genuine concern in his eyes, and felt a flicker of hope that maybe the heaviness in her heart could lighten, bit by bit, with someone by her side. Even as the pot simmered and the evening quieted around them, Emily's thoughts raced with the unspoken tension between comfort and longing, humor and heartache, and she realized that this small, ordinary moment might mark the beginning of something that would change how she viewed her own emotions and her connections with the people she loved. The smell of the cooking, the warm light, and the presence of someone who truly cared made Emily aware of how much she had been craving understanding, companionship, and even a touch of laughter to balance the sadness, and she allowed herself to fully take in the feeling without guilt. Ethan's playful nudges, the gentle teasing, and the soft encouragement reminded her of the power of simple human connection, and for the first time that evening, she felt that the quiet ache inside her could be soothed not just by time but by the people who cared enough to show up. As she stirred the sauce one last time, Emily felt a strange mix of relief, anticipation, and nervous excitement, aware that the night was only beginning and that the presence of her brother in that moment had already shifted something inside her, giving her courage to face her emotions and maybe even find hope for what lay ahead. Every glance, every small laugh, every gentle word from Ethan seemed to anchor her, creating a sense of safety and intimacy that she had not felt in a long time, and Emily realized that even in heartbreak, moments of warmth and connection could appear unexpectedly, transforming ordinary routines into memories she would treasure. The evening stretched on with soft conversation and shared smiles, and though Emily's heart still carried its quiet burdens, the presence of someone who could see her fully, without judgment, made the kitchen feel alive in a way that went far beyond cooking. It became a place of subtle healing, laughter, and the first hint of hope that the lonely ache she carried could be met with understanding, warmth, and perhaps even love. Emily tried to force a smile, stirring the vegetables with a bit more energy than she felt, hoping her brother wouldn't notice the heaviness in her chest. Ethan leaned casually against the counter, arms crossed, eyes studying her with that mix of teasing and care he always had, and Emily felt a flutter of both comfort and tension. "You? Cooking voluntarily? That's suspicious," he said with a grin, and for a moment, she laughed genuinely, feeling the tightness in her chest ease just a little. But then, his tone softened, and he asked quietly, "Is this about him?" Emily froze, caught off guard, but she didn't need to answer, he already knew, somehow. Ethan continued gently, "If someone broke your heart, I swear, I'll fight them. Not physically, you know I'd lose, but emotionally. I'll send a strongly worded email." The absurdity of it made her laugh again, the kind of laugh that felt like it could push away some of the lingering sadness, and Ethan's eyes lit up at seeing her smile. "There it is," he said, "your real laugh. I missed it." Emily's laughter faded slowly, replaced by a quiet ache as she admitted under her breath, "You ever miss someone even when they weren't yours?" Ethan looked at her softly, a seriousness in his gaze that made her heart tighten. The right person doesn't let you feel like you're alone in your own story," he said, and she felt the weight of his words settle into her chest. She stirred the pot again, but her mind wasn't on cooking, it was on the truth in Ethan's voice and how safe and seen she felt with him in that moment. She realized that even in her heartbreak and longing, she wasn't completely alone. There was someone who understood, who noticed, who cared enough to make her laugh and feel heard at the same time. The room felt warmer, not just because of the kitchen lights, but because of the quiet connection between them, a bond that gave her courage to face her own emotions. Ethan's presence made her feel light enough to hope again, and even though the sadness lingered, it didn't feel as heavy as before. She glanced at him, seeing both mischief and tenderness in his expression, and felt that maybe this night, simple as it was, might change the way she looked at love and heartbreak. As she laughed once more, softly, she realized that sometimes, a brother's words could reach deeper than anyone else's, and in that small, ordinary kitchen, her heart began to feel alive again, ready to face whatever came next. Emily and Ethan worked side by side in the kitchen, chopping, stirring, and occasionally bumping into each other, letting small jokes and laughter fill the space, slowly washing away the tension that had hung over Emily all week. The warmth of the stove mixed with the warmth of being with someone who truly understood her made the room feel safe, and for the first time in days, Emily allowed herself to breathe without guilt or worry. Ethan kept teasing her gently about her mysterious cooking skills and how dangerous it was for her to cook alone, making her laugh more than once, and she realized how much she had missed these ordinary, silly moments that somehow felt comforting and intimate. But when Ethan asked casually if she still thought about him, her hands froze mid-stir, and a wave of memories crashed over her, the quiet glances, the unspoken feelings, and the nights she had spent imagining what could have been. She admitted softly, almost to herself, that she did, and Ethan nodded knowingly, his expression a mixture of empathy and quiet frustration at her heartbreak. He told her that anyone who walked away from someone like her was losing far more than they realized, and Emily felt both comforted and pained by the truth in his words. She confessed how she had pushed him away, out of fear, and Ethan's gaze softened, full of understanding. "The right person won't run from the heaviest parts of you," he said, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder, and Emily felt the ache in her chest ease slightly, replaced by hope and the faint possibility of reconciliation. They moved together through the tasks of cooking, sharing small smiles and quiet touches as they passed utensils and tasted sauces, feeling the bond between them grow stronger, almost like a silent promise that she wasn't alone in carrying her feelings. Emily's heart raced as she realized how much she needed someone who could see her truth without judgment, and Ethan's quiet encouragement reminded her that love could exist in different forms, sometimes in unexpected ways. She began to imagine a future where heartbreak didn't dominate her thoughts, where laughter and understanding could coexist with longing and past mistakes. As the aromas of their cooking filled the kitchen, Emily felt a strange mix of comfort and anticipation, knowing that the night was not over and that change, perhaps even a reunion with him, could be closer than she dared hope. Suddenly, a knock at the door interrupted her thoughts, and both she and Ethan exchanged a look full of surprise and curiosity. Her heart pounded in her chest, and she felt a mix of excitement and nervousness, wondering who could be there at this hour. Could it be him, the one she had tried to forget, the one she still loved quietly? Ethan moved toward the door with his usual playful confidence, leaving Emily behind for a moment, and she felt her chest tighten with a strange combination of fear, hope, and longing. The quiet kitchen, the laughter, and the shared understanding with her brother had created a bubble of safety, yet now the possibility of seeing him again made that bubble feel fragile, ready to burst with emotions she had tried to suppress. Emily stood frozen, her mind racing, remembering every word, every glance, and every feeling she had buried, as the moment stretched with anticipation. The knock came again, louder this time, and she realized that tonight could change everything, her laughter, her heartbreak, and her hopes all converging in the space of one small kitchen. Her emotions swirled uncontrollably, and she found herself holding her breath, unsure of what to feel first, the thrill of seeing him or the fear of being hurt again. Ethan opened the door slowly, peeking out with curiosity and mischief, while Emily stayed just behind him, her heart beating wildly. And there, standing in the soft evening light, was Liam, the man she had tried to let go but could not forget, and seeing him there made every suppressed emotion rise to the surface, overwhelming her with longing, hope, and fear all at once. She wanted to step forward, to speak, to reach out, but words failed her, leaving only the pounding of her heart and the fluttering of her stomach as she faced him again. Ethan, sensing the tension, started to laugh quietly from behind, breaking the silence with his usual humor and making Emily smile despite the whirlwind of feelings inside her. The room felt charged, electric, with possibilities and unspoken words, and Emily realized that life had brought her to a moment where laughter, love, and heartbreak intersected in the most unexpected way. The evening air, the aroma of cooking, and the presence of both her brother and Liam created a mix of emotions she had never experienced before, leaving her breathless and aware that everything was about to change. She knew that whatever happened next would be a turning point, not just for her heart, but for the quiet strength she had been building inside herself, and for the love she had never fully allowed herself to embrace. As she watched Liam step closer, her pulse quickened, and she felt the familiar ache of longing, tempered by the comfort of Ethan's steady presence beside her. It was in this fragile, fast-moving moment that Emily realized she was ready to face her feelings, ready to laugh again, and maybe, just maybe, ready to let love back into her life. The knock at the door had become a symbol of possibility, a gentle reminder that life could surprise her, that heartbreak could lead to hope, and that the warmth of family and the pull of romance could coexist, even in a single evening. And as the door opened fully, revealing Liam standing there with a shy, hopeful smile, Emily felt the full force of her emotions collide, her laughter, her longing, and her hope blending together, making her realize that the night was just beginning, and her heart was ready for whatever came next. Ethan moved toward the door with curiosity, leaving Emily just a step behind, her heart hammering in her chest, a mix of hope and fear twisting inside her as she wondered who could be there at this hour. And when he swung the door open, the cool evening air rushed in, carrying with it a sense of anticipation that made Emily's stomach flutter. Standing there was Liam, the man she had tried to forget, the one she had quietly loved even as she convinced herself she was moving on, and the sight of him brought a rush of memories, the stolen glances, the words unsaid, the nights she had replayed their moments in her mind over and over. Liam looked nervous yet determined, his eyes meeting hers with a softness that made her chest ache and a small, hopeful smile that reminded her of everything she had been missing. Ethan, sensing the tension and wanting to lighten the mood, stepped back with a grin and shouted, "Oh wow, this is going to be interesting. I'm just going to pretend I didn't see a dramatic reunion happening," making Emily laugh despite the whirlwind of emotion swirling inside her. Liam took a step closer, his voice quiet but steady. "Hi, Emily. I heard you weren't doing great, and I didn't want to stay away anymore," and the sincerity in his tone made her heart skip a beat, reminding her how deeply she had cared for him. She swallowed hard, words catching in her throat, finally whispering, "I thought you didn't want this," to which Liam replied earnestly, "I just wanted you to want me back," and that simple truth made her eyes well up with tears of relief, longing, and hope all at once. The kitchen, still filled with the warmth of cooking and the faint aroma of their dinner, now felt like a stage for a reunion that had been years in the making, and Emily realized how much she had needed this moment, the presence of someone who understood her heart and the courage to face it again. Ethan, ever the observer, chuckled from the doorway, adding humor to the scene that balanced the intensity of the emotions, and Emily couldn't help but smile through her tears, feeling the weight of loneliness lifting, replaced by the possibility of love and reconciliation. Liam reached out slowly, as if testing the waters, his hand brushing against hers in a gesture that was both tender and electrifying, making Emily's pulse race and reminding her of the connection they had always shared. She felt a mixture of nervousness and excitement, unsure whether to step forward or let the moment linger, but the warmth in Liam's eyes drew her in, dissolving the fear that had kept her guarded for so long. Ethan, sensing the chemistry and wanting to stay in character as the playful older brother, waved a hand dramatically. "If you two get back together, I'm taking credit," and Emily laughed aloud, a pure, unrestrained sound that filled the room, merging with Liam's relieved smile and making the tension dissolve in an instant. Emily wiped a tear from her cheek, the mixture of laughter and emotion leaving her feeling lighter than she had in months, and she realized that sometimes, love didn't arrive in grand gestures but in quiet, sincere moments, in the way someone showed up when it mattered most. Liam stepped closer, their hands brushing again, and Emily felt the familiar ache of longing shift into something warmer, something hopeful, as she whispered softly, "You always show up at the right time," and he nodded, a small, content smile crossing his face, the kind that spoke of reassurance and patience. Ethan leaned against the doorframe, pretending to look busy, but Emily caught the pride in his eyes, knowing that he had seen the subtle magic of the reunion unfold and had quietly supported it without words, giving her the courage to face her feelings fully. The evening air carried the soft sounds of the neighborhood outside, but inside, the kitchen was alive with emotion, laughter, quiet whispers, and the tension of hearts reconnecting after long months of uncertainty and longing. Emily felt a rush of gratitude, not just for Liam's return, but for Ethan's gentle guidance, the way he had always been there to lift her spirits, make her laugh, and help her navigate the messy, complicated world of love and heartbreak. As she stood there, hands brushing with Liam's, she felt a deep sense of relief and anticipation, realizing that this could be the beginning of something new, a second chance filled with understanding, patience, and affection. Liam's eyes never left hers, filled with a quiet promise, and Emily felt her own heart respond in kind, the old longing transforming into hope and certainty that they could rebuild what had been lost. The smell of the meal they had prepared together lingered, comforting and grounding, as if the ordinary act of cooking had led them to this extraordinary moment, reminding her that love often comes in simple, unexpected ways. Ethan's laughter echoed softly from the hallway, breaking the last of the tension, and Emily realized she hadn't felt this alive in a long time, the mixture of love, humor, and family warmth filling every corner of her heart. Liam gently took her hand in both of his, and Emily felt a surge of emotion she hadn't allowed herself to feel in months, joy, relief, longing, and an overwhelming sense of belonging. They stood there for a few moments, simply holding hands and looking at each other, letting the world outside fade away, the ordinary kitchen transformed into a place of new beginnings and renewed hearts. Emily's laughter, soft and genuine, mingled with Liam's quiet chuckle, creating a harmony that felt like healing, and she realized that the night, which had begun with quiet loneliness, had turned into a moment of connection, hope, and love that she would never forget. The gentle glow of the kitchen lights bathed them all, Ethan stepping back with a wink and a playful smile, leaving Emily and Liam in a bubble of warmth and intimacy, the kind that promises that even after heartbreak, love can return, laughter can be found, and hearts can heal together. As Emily finally let herself exhale fully, she felt her emotions settle into a calm, hopeful rhythm, knowing that she was ready to embrace whatever came next with Liam by her side, supported by the laughter and guidance of her brother, and that life, with all its surprises, could still bring moments of joy, reunion, and the quiet magic of second chances.